Welcome to the first Owl Diary of 2024. I'm back in the museum gardens, and it's quite significant because we've never, in the 14 years of running this display, done any days in January before. Now the kids are still off school, so it's actually quite busy for that reason. But they probably will then tail off a bit, pick up a bit more in February, but we'll just see how we go. But it's nice to be outside again because it's not raining today, and it's nice to be doing some handling and flying with the different birds. We've got a flying experience booked in today as well. We've brought Bernie out here. He is our 21-year-old tawny owl. What we tend to do is every new year comes along, we just start adding a year onto the bird's age because they all hatch in the spring and summer and we lose track of exactly when their birthdays are. In fact, on their paperwork, it doesn't always tell us the exact actual hatch date. So we have to kind of average it down a little bit. So we can now say he is 21. I used to think that this business was both seasonal and weather dependent. I've changed my mind completely over the last few months. It's not seasonal at all. There's always people who are interested in booking us for display work and things, but it is weather dependent, most certainly. I'm pleased to say the floodwater's actually gone down, but it's still a bit soggy, but at least the sun's out today. Willow here, our pygmy owl, is in requirement of a bit of beak coping, and I thought whilst I've got her ready, cast in the towel here, I'm also going to have a look at her feet, make sure they're clean, pop a bit of Vaseline on there as well. So if you get in a bit closer here, you'll actually see the beak isn't too long, but it's a bit chunky at the back. You can probably see it more from a side angle, talking about the upper part there. This is quite normal because what tends to happen is that we feed our birds lots of lovely soft mice and chicken and things like that, and they aren't having the opportunity like a wild bird of prey would to sort of file their beak down on rocks and things in the wild, really. So it does overgrow a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is just use the towel to try my best. It's very difficult with such a small bird. I'm going to try to cover the eyes. I've got plenty of towel, so if I can do that and have just the beak. It is tricky because the eyes are so close to the beak. So that's its beak done. Just a little bit thinner on the back makes a big difference to the bird, even though it's only a small amount removed for us. And I've also checked the feet nice and clean and give them a bit of a wash anyway. Also put a bit of Vaseline on there, keep them nice and moisturised as well. And I think Willow here can spend the rest of her day in her aviary, and I've got a nice juicy mouth for her later on today. So I have my first bit of exciting news for 2024. As the business of Owl Adventures expands into some different categories, we should say, I think it's time I should tell you about the first one. And that is the use of our Harris hawks for pest control. This is something that's been done for many, many years, mainly factories, warehouses, that type of venue where they have problems with pigeon and seagull and some other nuisance birds. And we've actually become a subcontractor for another business who have offered us 2 full days a week at the moment doing pest control work, which we began just this week with Maverick here and Roland, and there's some really great benefits for the birds. For example, fitness training. So when we do flying shows or flying experiences, the hawks are flying for 20 minutes, maybe half an hour per session. They might do 2 sessions a day. It's about an hour's free flying a day. And this is about all you need because they're flying back to the glove and mostly getting a little chicken reward every time they do. They fill up, although hawks are a bit like a vacuum cleaner to some degree, and they just keep going. However, the pest control is like the same thing, but spread out over 2 hours with 3 sites a day. So we're actually taking 2 hawks at the moment and splitting them up between the 3 sites, and they're getting great fitness training as a result, partly with the stamina element because they're just going longer, but also from a point of view of flying up to heights, a bit like you can see in this video clip of Maverick flying down from one of the warehouses. You can see from the size of those vans, they're large vans, roughly how high that roof is, and he was flying up to them and back down multiple times during the day. So if our hawks weren't already fit, soon they get much, much fitter. And it's also good for the business because cash flow really, especially in winter. These pest control jobs are going to last all year round. So it's very low margin as far as profit's concerned for myself. I'm sending staff to do most of the flying, but it just gives them that regular income. And as I say, keeps the cash flowing, because in business, keep the cash flowing, keeps the business going. That's what they say. So we probably are going to have to get some more Harris hawks, because there's already talk of offering us some more pest control work throughout the week, throughout the year, and it happens no matter what the weather's doing. Some of it is indoors, like in the bus depots, and some of it's outside, flying in and out of the trees and the rooftops of the buildings and things like that. So we have got a name for our little sister business, and it's Hawk Busters, and we're not going to do a theme tune. Maybe we will. There's an obvious one there, and I have to say thank you to Esther for her idea of that business name. I think she mentioned that last year. Very impressive. She actually has helped name quite a few things, including some of our animals actually. She's rather good at that. So exciting news, but we've actually got an even bigger announcement to give you in the next Owl Diary. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. This one is really quite big and exciting for the future of Owl Adventures.